Good morning. My name's Dorothy Larson, Larson & Associates CPAs, and I'm very excited to be able to welcome you to our first of the season Candidates Forum hosted by Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank Rose's Bakery for bringing the sweets out there that all look too caloric. And I would like to bring up Steve Rosansky, the president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. How is everybody this morning? Did you load up on the carbs out there? Yeah? Come on? Yes? No? Okay. Very good. Welcome to our candidate forum for 2016. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. We have a full slate of candidates here this morning. Everyone that's registered is here in attendance. So proud to say that they recognize that the Chamber is an influential organization in this community and they need to show up for our stuff. There are a few other dignitaries that are here with us this morning that I'd like to introduce. So first off is our Mayor, Diane Dixon. Mayor Dixon. I see Councilman Ed Selich in the front row here. Mayor Pro Tem Kevin Muldoon. Unfortunately, I don't believe that Tony Petros, Duffy Duffield, or Keith actually RSVP'd, but I didn't see him. They're not here yet. Hopefully they'll join us. We have a planning commissioner with us this morning, a new one, brand new, newly minted, Bill Dunlop. Oh. And how can I miss Councilman Scott Piotr? He's got to be the tallest guy in the room back there. Scott. Thank you. We also have Assistant City Manager with Carol Jacobs with us this morning. Community Development Director Kim Brandt. Parks and Rec Director Laura Detweiler. We've got some Harbor Commissioners, Joe Stapleton and Paul Blank. Laird Hayes with Parks and Rec Commissioner. Laird, are you going to be officiating in those Rams games? Are you? See me about tickets after the game, after the candidate forum. Yeah. Laird's an NFL referee. Little known fact. Arlene Greer, I didn't see Arlene. Is she here yet? Arlene? Phil, did Arlene show? She's working on it. Okay. When she's here, she's an arts commissioner, I believe. Vlad Anderson, president of the Police Employees Association. Bobby Salerno, president of the Firefighters Employees Association. And we even attract council candidates in Costa Mesa. Lee Ramos is here with us this morning. He's running for Costa Mesa City Council. So I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I'm sorry. I'll probably catch it on the back end. But thank you all for coming. It's going to be a great program. We've got a lot of great questions. And I'll bring Dorothy Larson will introduce our moderator today, Lucy Dunn. Thank you.
We are thrilled to have back for the second year for our second annual Candidates Forum. And I want to start by saying we have a VIP babysitter, laundry girl, fish seller, motel maid, legal secretary, paralegal, lawyer, and fast forward to tremendously influential business leader and diva, Lucy Dunn. If you haven't heard her sing, you need to. She's the president and CEO of the Orange County Business Council. She does a million other things in Orange County and statewide that are very important. She's the recipient of numerous honors, and as far as I can tell, the most recent is the Girl Scouts of Orange County, their Celebrate Leadership event, which celebrates extraordinary female leaders. Lucy Dunn will be one of the honorees this year. So with that, I'd like to bring up Lucy Dunn to moderate.
So those first 7 things were hashtag first 7 jobs. If you've been on Facebook or on Twitter, yes, in fact, one of my very first jobs is I sold fish underage, like a 14-year-old in this little mall in Pennsylvania. So what a crack up that you would notice that. It's good morning, and I'm delighted to return to the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. On the candidate forum today, welcome, gentlemen. There's 4 distinct parts. The first part, I'm going to ask each candidate to make a 2-minute opening statement. as to why he or she is running for city council. The second part, you get to practice with your thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm going to ask some questions, yes or no questions, give you some instructions on that in a bit. The third part, I'm going to ask a series of questions that the candidates will be allowed 1 minute to answer, so more instructions to follow. And then the last part, each candidate will be given 1 minute for concluding remarks. So there's going to be a person with a timer, my timer right here, for the 2-minute opening statements and the 1 minute response questions, as well as the 1 minute concluding statements. And she's tough. The timer will begin timing when it's indicated for the candidate to begin. After 45 seconds, the timer will hold up a yellow card indicating 15 seconds remaining. When 1 minute has elapsed, she will ring a bell. Bell, sound, there you go, indicating the candidate should stop talking. The candidate is not required to use the entire 1 minute for the response. If the candidate concludes his response before 1 minute is up, I will move on to the next candidate. Each candidate is expected to behave in a civil manner towards his opponent and the other candidates, and please do not interrupt another candidate's response. Agreed? Look at me, Fred. Fred. Yes, okay, good. Okay, so part one. I will ask each candidate to make a 2-minute opening statement as to why he, there's no she up here, although it says she, is running for city council. We're going to start with District 2, Brad Avery. Brad?
I'm running, I guess it started out with I had no intention of running, and Tony Petros lives on my street, and I always thought he was very engaged with District 2, and so I was really surprised when he didn't run. And Duffy Duffield urged me to run, and what put me over the top was my experience in the Harbor Commission and what a great time I had with the existing commissioners. I think we did a good job, and they continue to do a good job. And we had fun doing it. It was just sort of an education for me, got me closer to the city and the workings of everything over the last 5 years. And I'm obviously being on the Harbor Commissioner and growing up in Newport and around the harbor, I'm focused on the harbor quite a bit, so I have some things I want to try and keep rolling, and some of those are initiatives that are currently on the Harbor Commission's agenda. So water quality is one of them. Adding to the connectivity of the harbor by more public docks. All the rest. Oh, Scott, you can't. Wait a minute. Is this working?
Yes.
No? Sorry. Adding more connectivity to the harbor by more public docks. I'm really a fan of the walkway proposal of linking the harbor with the walkways, which is, as many of you know, is happening already, but just keeping the pressure on that and trying to make that happen. More ways for people to access the harbor is high on my list. Also, I have some interest in code enforcement in the harbor, in just sort of trying to tamp down some of the louder activities, we have a much higher level of intensity than we used to have on the harbor. And so when I talk about that, I'm really talking about just having ambassadors on the water and just making sure people know it's a residential community and as well as a business community. We're just trying to all get along out there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Good timing. Next up, Mike Glenn, District 5.
Test.
There you go.
Is that on? Okay.
It's on.
So I'm Mike Glenn. I'm a small business owner. Lived in Newport for about 11 years. Have a small software development company. Been an activist for many years now here, small government. We've had in the last few years some assaults on our small business owners here in the community. Anything from the property rights violations that were proposed on Balboa Peninsula, which were going to affect our restaurants. I was the only person up here that came to the defense of small businesses there. We've had increases in taxes in terms of our parking fees, our meters. We have had several different things that have been happening with the small businesses. A lot of the dock tax, for instance. The last slate of candidates came in saying that they were going to eliminate the dock tax. In fact, one of the very first things they did was affirm the dock tax, which is a seizure of property. So I'm a small government activist. I also appreciate Dog Beach, which is another one of my projects here. But I'm running to basically keep government out of everybody's hair.
Thanks, Mike. Jeff Herdman. Hold that mic close.
I will.
Thank you.
I just want to say morning to all the chamber members and to guests, and I especially want to thank Steve and the chamber for hosting this very first forum. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. I am Jeff Herdman. I'm the candidate that 2 weeks ago the Orange County Superior Court ruled that you have a right to vote for. I have been in the city since 1954. I can't even think about how many years that's been, over 60. I'm not an outsider. I'm not running for political gain. I just want to do the best job I possibly can in representing the people in Newport Beach. After I graduated from college with a teaching degree, that's what I did, was teach school. After I got my master's, I moved into a principalship, and then a director position, and then an assistant superintendent position in 2 of the best school districts here in Orange County. I operate best under well-defined policy, clear-cut policy. I'm a consensus builder. I'm a good listener. I'm decisive, and I take action. I support small government. I feel strongly about protecting the tax base, and I believe strongly in investing taxpayer money where it will make money, with a continual focus on increasing our property value. Having been a target of the opposition trying to block my candidacy within the last month, campaign reform within this city is a very high priority of mine. Also high priorities are fiscal responsibility, accountability, and a very close adherence to the city's annual financial plan. Thank you.
Thanks. And Lee Lowry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lee Lowry. I'm a candidate here for the Newport Beach City Council District 5. I want to thank the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce for hosting us today. Like a lot of us here, I think we all feel that of all the cities here in Orange County, Newport Beach is the shining diamond within this county, and I believe within this state. And I think what I want to do is to make this diamond shine even brighter and to make Newport Beach even a better place. I've grown up locally. I grew up next door in Huntington Beach, product of public schools, went to USC. So any Bruins out there, the candidate with no former higher education, but outside of that, left the state, came back to Newport Beach in 1998, and have been a resident ever since then. And I love this city. I've had increasing responsibilities in private equity. Just recently left a large private equity firm and managed $2.5 billion of distressed large-scale real estate debt, and then came back to the city and now I've opened a business, now have a staff of 4, employing 2 residents now of Newport Beach and more, so making that payroll. And the most important thing, I met my wife Sarah here, and we're expecting our first child in October, and he is going to grow up here in Newport Beach his whole life. So my focus in Newport Beach is going to be 3 things. We've spent a lot of money over the last few years on capital improvement projects. We've got a lot of debt to show for it on top of that. So I want to get back to the basics on this campaign, and this is what I want to do is A1, focus on our unfunded pension liability, which is in excess of $300 million currently. We must use some of the surplus to pay it down. We've made some progress over the last few years, but we have to pay it down. Number 2, we want to work on public infrastructure. Number 3, we need to really seriously look at heroin use and drug use in our high schools. It's becoming an epidemic.
Thanks. Moving on to District 7, Fred Ameri.
My name is Fred Ameri. I moved to Orange County in 1961. I was going to Berkeley, teenager, fell in love with the area, and I quit Berkeley and got a job for the summer at Village Inn Restaurant in Balboa Island as a busboy, and made a bunch of money, paid my $5 and registered at Orange Coast College. Later on, I moved on to get my bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Cal Poly Pomona, going to school 3 days a week and working 4 nights a week as a waiter. And In 1968, I was hired by RBF Consulting. At the time, we had 35 people. Myself and 6 of my partners, we grew the company to 1,200 people. With 16 offices, our headquarters in Newport Beach, creating a lot of taxes, sales for the city. During my RBF, the 43 years, I was involved in numerous multi-billion-dollar projects, and not million, billions. I've been, just to tell you, I was involved for 30 years managing, designing Corte de Casa, Talega, and half of Mission Viejo. And by the way, Mission Viejo Lake is my thesis project, my brainchild that I use for my master's, and it is cataloged at the university. I'm running for 3 reasons. One is my experience of 43 years. That's valuable. I was involved for 43 years in planning, engineering.
Fred?
I am financing my own campaign out
Fred,
of my own
that's it. Pass
money.
the microphone on to Phil Greer. You can follow up later with your closing. Phil?
Hi, thank you. My name is Phil Greer, or as I'm better known around town, Arlene Greer's husband. A couple of days ago, I got a call from a supporter, and they said, you got to check out another candidate's website because they're taking your tagline and using it. And I just want to thank and acknowledge Mr. O'Neill for agreeing that you need a little sand between your toes and a little seaweed in the trunk of your car if you're going to represent this community. That's what we've been running on since day one. I grew up here. I surfed these beaches. I was a Newport Pier guy, not a Balboa Pier guy, but we all met at the Wedge. I grew up at the fire rings and doing all of that. I went away to college, came back. I've been here for 23, 24 years. Our son has gone through Anderson High School here, and we're part of this community. I act as the pro bono non-official counsel for the Newport Beach Arts Foundation. My wife sits on the Arts Commission. We are involved in this community, and we want to maintain this community. We want to maintain the integrity and the beauty. The other night, there was a symphony out here with the Pacific Symphony on the green, and it was the most spectacular thing I have ever seen. It said so much about what Newport Beach really is. You had family, you had kids, you had grandparents, all sitting around listening to the Pacific Symphony. And a lot of credit for that goes to the Arts Commission. It goes to Mr. Selich's wife. It goes to my wife. And that's what this community is all about. And that's what I want to do, is I want to continue to make this community the special, unique place that it is.
Thank you, Phil. Will O'Neill.
I'm Will O'Neill. I'm running for District 7. First, thank you so much, Steve, for hosting this event with the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much to Lucy for agreeing to moderate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you all for coming. A well-educated electorate will be particularly important in this election. I also want to make sure I say a very special thank you to my wife, Jenny, who's sitting in the front row. Without her love and support, I assure you I would not be sitting here right now. You see, Jenny and I are raising our 2 fantastic little children in a house we own. Our roots are firmly planted in this community. And we need to at least maintain and hopefully enhance all the reasons that families have been moving to Newport Beach in decades past for the decades to come. By way of background, I graduated from Stanford University and UC Hastings College of the Law, where I am currently the president of the Alumni Association. I sit on the city's finance committee. I'm in my 2nd term. I was appointed by Councilman Duffield, confirmed by the City Council unanimously, and then reconfirmed by the City Council unanimously. I'm proud of the work that we have done on the Finance Committee. We have put forward proposals that have been adopted that will save the city millions of dollars. But we have a long way to go. We have over $500 million right now in unfunded pension liability and civic center debt. Left unchecked, these liabilities will increase to the point where they crowd out quality of life services. I support back to basics budgeting that emphasizes infrastructure improvement, liability reduction, and emphasizing the harbor, and I hope to work with Brad Avery on that. I look forward to our discussion this morning, and I hope to earn your vote by November. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, we made it through round one. So now part two, round two, is the lightning round. I love this one. Here are the instructions. I will ask a series of yes/no questions that each candidate will answer simultaneously by either indicating with their placard green for thumbs up or red for thumbs down. No verbal response or explanation will be allowed. Okay, so let's practice. Is today Tuesday? Are you sure? Okay. Oh, there you go. This is why we practice. All right, ready to go? Are you a Newport Beach resident? Great. Are you or your company a member of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce? There you go. Membership development right here, Steve. Are you a property owner in Newport Beach? Do you own or work at a business that has a business license in Newport Beach? Next, are you now or have you ever been a member of a communist organization? Just kidding. You don't need to answer that one. Okay. There's cameras here, gentlemen. Just be careful. Okay. Berkeley, wow, that counts. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Do you favor relaxing parking requirements for certain areas of the city to encourage a greater variety of business uses? Okay. Next one. Are you in favor of the ballot measure recently approved by the City Council for the November election that would require 5 out of 7 council members to agree to approve a tax increase prior to placing it for a vote of the residents? Good. Number 8. Are you in favor of increasing the roadway width through Mariners Mile to 3 lanes in each direction? There you go. Next one. Do you support using city funds to fund public art? Next, are you aware that the Newport Beach Christmas Boat Parade is a Chamber of Commerce event? This is a good sign. And it's around Christmas time. Next, would you vote to open up the oceanfront boardwalk to motorized vehicles such as pedagos and motorized skateboards? Okay, there you go. Next one. Are you in favor of using general fund money to pay for sewer capital improvement projects? Next, do you support privatization of public employee jobs? Very good. And the last question, have you ever played Pokemon Go? There's a generational divide here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a definite issue of importance. Give them a round of applause for the lightning round. Okay, we're on part 3. We're moving right along here. I will now ask a series of questions that the candidates will be allowed 1 minute to answer. Please listen carefully to each question when asked. Some of them are kind of complex. Each candidate will answer the current question before the next question is read. And the order of answering will begin in the order of council districts 2, 5, and 7. The next question will be answered in the order of 5, 7, and 2, and so on. The candidates in each district will alternate in going first and answering the questions, and I will continue to ask these questions until about, 10 minutes to 9 or so. Okay, so first up, this one we begin with, I'm going to mix this up a little bit because we first started with Brad, so this time I'd like to start in District 5 with Jeff Herdman, okay? Not long ago, Council Member Scott Piotr proposed eliminating the business license fee charged to companies and individuals that want to conduct business in the city of Newport Beach. Currently, business license fees generate $4 million in revenue to the city. Are you in favor of either reducing or eliminating the business license fee? And if so, how would you deal with the lost revenue to the city? Jeff?
I have a business license with the city. I pay an annual fee for my business license. I own rental property in the city. The specific question at the very end was, would I support?
How would you deal with the loss in revenue to the city? Are you in favor of reducing or eliminating?
I'm not in favor of reducing the business license fee. I'm not in favor of reducing any kind of revenue that comes into the city. We need to invest that money wisely, and as I said in my opening remarks, we need to invest city dollars where it will make dollars.
Great, thank you. Lee?
I would be in favor of a gradual phase down of that. As we pay down our pension liabilities, I think we can phase that out. This is a philosophical question for me. I believe that money starts with businesses and individuals and doesn't start with the city. And I would look at that as something that would be phased down after we met our responsibilities with the pension funds.
Great, thank you. And Mike?
Yes, I'm absolutely in favor of anything that makes it easier to do business in Newport Beach, which would include eliminating the business license tax. It is a tax, it is not a fee. There is a difference between taxes and fees in the state of California. Fee is anything that include up to and including the cost of service. Anything above that that's a revenue generating device is a tax. So the business license is a tax, not a fee. I'm definitely in favor of eliminating that, again, gradually, as Lee stated. We can make up the money through efficiencies that are easily found elsewhere in the city.
Thanks. Moving to District 7, Phil, could you take this one?
That we have to look at the different businesses we have in Newport Beach. Somebody who's making purses or something out of their home should not have to pay the same business tax as Straddling Yoka or Bloomingdale's. And I think if we look at it that way and we make it fairer to the small businesses who are starting and striving here, and look at the larger business who have generated millions of dollars in revenue, you can find a balance so that at the end of the day, you're not losing revenue. When you pay your business license fee, you're paying for services, you're paying for infrastructure, you're paying for police and fire, you're paying for all of those things that the city provides. So to cut that out would be unfair.
Thank you. And Will?
Sure, Mike's right. This is a tax. It goes right into the general fund. And so the question is, what would you do with the, sorry, you got it? Okay. This is a tax, and so it goes right into the general fund. So the question is, what do we do? Obviously, we have neighbors. Earlier, and I see Anthony Quo sitting back here, who's candidate for Irvine. Irvine has eliminated their business license tax. And so the question is whether we would, what we would do really with the shortfall. I agree. I think that if we were going to phase it out, it would need to be connected to our pensions, but our pensions keep going up right now. And so that is, that's unlikely, I believe, but I'd at least be open to looking at it if we can offset it some other way. And to Phil's point, fortunately, I believe the way he's described it, that is how our business license tax program is already set up.
Very good. Thank you. And Fred?
Well, I'm against doing anything with it for two reasons. Number one, who is paying this fee? Irvine Company, PIMCO, international law offices. For them, this fee is just peanuts. Number two, with the $4 million that comes into the city, you could hire 20 more policemen. Would you rather not have the Irvine Company pay a few dollars on license fee and not have the option of hiring 20 more policemen? That's it.
Thanks, Fred. And Brad?
I ran a small business for 5 years, about 20 years ago in Newport, and I pay a business license fee today for some rental property. And I've never felt that it was hard on my business to do that. It took a big number away from me. you sort of wonder what it's about. But I think the main thing is, yes, how do we replace the 4 million? And if that can be done in a way that makes sense, I'm not philosophically opposed to it. I'm good with it. But I think that's the first question: is how do we replace that 4 million of revenue into the city?
Great, thank you very much. Question number 2. The West Newport Banning Ranch development is about to go to the Coastal Commission for final approval on September 8. In its current form, the property owner proposes to build 895 dwelling units, a 75-unit hotel, a 20-bed youth hostel, and about a 45,000 square foot neighborhood visitor-serving retail center on approximately 20% of the property, and restore for public use approximately 75% of the property. If approved by the Coastal Commission, the project will come back to the city for additional approvals. Are you in favor of the Banning Ranch project as currently proposed, and why? And if not, how would you change it? Let's begin with District 7 and Will O'Neill.
About a year and a half ago, the California Court of Appeal came down with a case called Woody's Wharf. Everyone knows that case. Here's the problem. Woody's Wharf came to the conclusion that if someone, I believe also including a candidate, makes a statement about what they believe should or should not happen at a vote, they will be disqualified from that vote. And so answering a question about a specific project that we know will go before the council, I think would disqualify the person who actually gives the answer. So let me give it a little bit more general statement. We've had some phenomenal council members in the last decade, and some of those council members voted for Banning Ranch in the larger scale. It's gone to California Coastal Commission and has been reduced substantially. Obviously, there's a lot more work to be done, and we'll find out in September. But one of the things that we've got to maintain when we're talking about large developments like that is determining how best to use impact fees. And one thing everyone should know is that a portion of the impact fees right now are going into what's called a Cultural Arts and Facilities Fund. And so if you're on the west side, you should probably know where your money is going to go instead of going to impact fees.
Will, let me change up that question for you and give you one more shot at it, because I understand the legal question of what I asked. Would you urge the Coastal Commission to approve the Banning Ranch project as submitted? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Next question, Fred and Mary. Do you understand the question here on this one? Are you in favor of the Banning Ranch project as currently proposed, and why? And if not, how would you change it?
If you look at my brochure, I have a 7-point plan. One of them is I'm 100% for property rights protection. Because of that reason, the owner, whoever it is, has the right to do something with his property. This project has been revised and revised. The way it is right now, I still think there's too many units there. I looked at the plan, as a matter of fact, by accident yesterday. There are certain sensitive environmental areas. I know a little bit about environment. I had 12 years, 3 governors appointed me to the Water Quality Control Board, so I know that. So if they bring it down to a logical, acceptable level, I wouldn't mind getting it approved, but not as it is today.
Thank you, Fred. And Phil?
Well, I'd have to agree, first of all, with Will's analysis of the Woody's Wharf case, and so we can't get specific about that. I would, however, state that if asked whether as a private citizen I would urge support or rejection of the current proposal, I would have to urge rejection of it. I think that it's not appropriate as constituted. It needs more work.
Thank you, Phil. I'm sorry I interrupted there. Brad?
I've lived here like several of these guys all my life, and it's hard for me to see the infill and the growth. Newport Coast, even Huntington Beach, what's been going on up there along the waterfront. But at the same time, it's the world we live in, and to the degree that we can slow it down, to the degree that we can get some compensation, to the degree that we can influence design and view corridors and work with the environment, that's the best trade-off we have, because people do have the right to develop their property. And I think in this case, there's been an awful lot of work done. And I think it's been good faith. I wish it was smaller, frankly, but if the Coastal Commission approves it, I think that's from my standpoint, a good sign. So without directly answering the question, those are my concerns, and it's tough to see, but I think we all feel that. We live in this town. It's tough to see growth. It's tough to see more traffic.
Thank you very much. Lee, District 5.
All right. As a private citizen, yes, I would agree with. I would support the project as it is now. Looking at this, again, you're looking at a piece of land that they can pump oil on this for the next 3, 4, 5 generations if they just keep it as is. I think the back and forth, and I think I think there's a good plan there. I think you have a landowner that's giving up approximately 3/4 of his land. Anyone here want to give up 3/4 of their private property just to keep open space? I think it's a good balance, and I would much rather see 300 acres of open space versus a bunch of old oil derricks and old oil equipment.
Great. And Mike?
Yeah, I would also like to see the open space, and I think it's admirable of the developers to give up about 80% of their land to the open space. Right now, we've got an oil field that's closed to the public. What they're talking about doing is cleaning it up and opening up 80% of that to the public as open space land. I agree with Brad. It's tough to see these kinds of changes. We need to be cognizant of the traffic, the congestion that may cause. But in the end, it is a property rights issue. They do own the property, and I think they're being extremely generous by giving 80% back to the people as open space.
Thank you. And Jeff?
Last, I think it was January, it may have been February, I took a personal tour of the property of the 400 acres. I called, made an appointment with a lady that runs the program. Sorry, I can't remember her name. And she took me onto the property in her car, and we drove the entire 400 acres, and I was absolutely amazed at the condition of the property. Certain sections of it are absolutely unsightly. She talked to me about plans at that point in time. The Coastal Commission meeting had not been held yet, where they were asked to scale back. The other thing, too, is that we have an absolutely beautiful general plan in this city. It was written in 2006. It describes the development of Banning Ranch. If we can stick to that description for the development of Banning Ranch, I would be very much in favor of this particular development.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, on to another question here. Perhaps one of the biggest financial crises facing California government agencies, including the city of Newport Beach, is the unfunded liability for city employee pensions through the PERS plan that is currently estimated to be $276 million for the city of Newport Beach. Several of you have commented on this already. In past action by the City Council, Newport Beach has opted to accelerate its PERS payments in order to pay down the liability quicker, as well as require a greater share of the cost for funding the pensions to be borne by city employees. Please tell us how you would address the unfunded liability. And let's see, where did I leave off? I'm on 2, I did 5, now I start with 7, right? So let's begin with Phil Greer.
First, it's really unfair. No, it isn't.
Welcome to City Council life.
You're doing a great job, Lucy. You're doing a great job. I think that what the city is doing is the fiscally responsible thing. The city is paying down through a variety of vehicles and mechanisms the unfunded liability. Credit has to be given to previous city councils, Councilman Selich, Councilman Curry, people like that who have looked at this financially and made these decisions. They've also allowed us to have a surplus of anywhere from $12 to $14 million in the budget. My position is real simple. I would continue the program that we're on because it's working.
Fred, you take it.
Well, I almost agree with what you said. because there are two things. One is accelerating the payments. Second is more contribution by the staff. I think that is the best way for the time being to do it. But this is a bigger issue. In any investment, you have certain risks. Here, we give our money to CalPERS. They invest it, and they lose $300 million. We got to get the law changed to make the people that contribute to the fund have more of a responsibility of contributing more, and that's something we have to change in Sacramento. We can't change it here. But the plan as is, I agree with it 100%, and we should continue till somebody proposes a change to the law to make the contributors a little more at risk, let's say.
Thanks, Fred. Will?
So let me start by saying this issue cannot be solved in 1 minute answer. This is something the Finance Committee has been looking at for years. This is something the Finance Committee will continue to look at for years. We will be having a primer on this. I encourage all of you to come in October. We will be having an actuary coming in to discuss these issues with us for an entire meeting in November. I again encourage you to go to that. So rather than tell you how to solve a crisis that is affecting every municipality, let me just be very blunt with you and tell you that this is not something that will go away, maybe even in my lifetime, because what we are looking at right now is, as a city, $21 million a year at least is going toward the unfunded portion of our pension liability, which is not something any of our current employees contribute to, nor should they. And that number will increase because that is tied to the 2014 estimate, which was about $253 million. It wasn't an estimate, actually. I'm sorry. It was $253 million from CalPERS. The $273 million is not an estimate. That is something we just received from the actuary for CalPERS. And our estimate, though, is that it's at $300 million and will likely grow because CalPERS is not hitting their rate of return. Right. So I actually agree with Phil. We need to stay the course when it comes to paying down an accelerated growth. But I'll tell you, folks, this is one of the biggest issues facing us for generations to come.
Thank you, Will. Brad, your thoughts?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have a few conversations with Will about this, being a guy that comes from sailing. So it's been good. And I think it distills down to the fact that when all the money comes in for the city and all the money goes out, there isn't a lot to mess with. And the whole crux is for the council and staff to work together to figure out how we divide it up, how much goes to debt service, if you will, and what's left over to drive the quality of life and the add-ons that we need in this city, the infrastructure and all the rest of it. So, and that's going to be one of the main tasks, and has been the main task of City Council to work that. So we try to drive that cost down, but we keep the quality of life going, splitting those dollars. That's the whole thing.
Thanks, Brad. District 5, Jeff?
As Diane said last Saturday at the Little Balboa Island Property Owners Association meeting, this is the one thing that prevents her from getting a good night's sleep every night, and I can certainly understand why. The debt is huge. The solution right now is what's called the ramp-up program that the city is currently involved in to pay down the debt, but it's an accelerated payment program so that the length of time that the city is paying down this debt is shortened by about 5 years. I think the biggest source of the problem concerning this unfunded liability is the defined benefit program and then the laws that exist in this state that govern what collective bargaining is all about, the negotiations process. Dealing with that I think is a huge part of this solution, and working in a coalition perhaps throughout the state with other cities that are in the same position we're in to work with PERS for a new defined benefit program would help in finding a solution to this problem.
Thanks. Mike?
Yes, this is this is the biggest issue, in my opinion, of what's coming in Newport Beach. We are, people will say it's $280 million, but as City Manager Dave Kiff said, March of 2014, and more recently, just a few months ago, it will take us $1 billion to exit CalPERS. Now, if we can't exit for less than $1 billion, this is a $1 billion problem. This is something that requires a multi-pronged approach. We've got to reduce staff. We've got to, the new people that are coming on, we need to have revised pensions. I do not favor reevaluating the current pensions for the people that we've made promises to that have changed their entire lifestyle to come and work for us based on those promises. But we have a lot of bloat in Newport Beach as well. And trimming the staff, trimming the bloat through attrition, not through firing, we can lose 20% of the staff in 10 years through attrition alone, not firing a single person.
Very good. Thank you. And Lee.
As everyone says here, it's probably the most important issue facing Newport Beach. And as Will said also, we can't do this in a minute conversation, but I give credit to the previous councils, current councils, for accelerating the pay down. I think, as I said earlier, that we need to use part of our surpluses to continue to pay that pay down. Unfortunately, CalPERS is a lousy investment vehicle, -2% this year. You could put your money in just an index fund, a generic index fund. You could have done so much better. And it's very unfortunate that we're locked and tied to a fund that's really more concerned about social engineering than it is a return to their pensioners. And it's, as Mike said, it would be good to find somehow that we can, and as Fred as well, to find an exit out of CalPERS and to get to a more fruitful and legitimate fund.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question. With the new popularity of home rental websites such as Airbnb and VRBO, hundreds of Newport Beach property owners have been advertising their places for rent on a short-term basis. Many of them are in violation of the city's short-term lodging ordinances that require a short-term lodging permit, operating in zones that do not allow short-term lodging and do not collect and pay to the city the 10% transit occupancy tax on rentals shorter than 30 days. If elected, how do you propose to deal with this situation? We start with Brad on this one.
Well, I'm against short-term lodging, especially in any R1 neighborhood. And obviously, the areas you do want to do it are where there are multiple units. You've got to get some resident input. I think it's a tremendous enforcement problem from what I've read in any locale, just to sort of keep a lid on it. It's just tough to get out there and knock on doors and figure out who's really doing their Airbnb, and do we, hire people to forensically investigate and go online and figure out who's doing what. So it's a tough problem, but I'm against any of that. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood next door to me. I've seen the operations on the peninsula, garages full of surfboards and bicycles and all the rest of it, and it's a tough issue for residents for sure.
Thanks, Brad. District 5, Lee.
As Brad said, this is a tough issue, but I think all of us, with being on Balboa Island, can see some of the drawbacks to this. You get people here that think it's spring break Cancun, and it's till 2 or 3 in the morning, and we're going to need to put in some more enforcement on this, especially on the noise side. It's getting so loud to the morning hours of the evening. I think we need to look at this in further detail. I know that there's a proposal for a 3-day minimum. I think we should expand that. This is R1 neighborhoods and neighborhoods that are multifamily, but were not intended for single, double, triple night occupancies. These were more homes and for long-term rentals, not 2 or 3 days, and people can come and go, and they don't maybe respect the community as much as all of us do here.
Mike, why don't you take it?
Yeah, I think that we already have the laws on the books to efficiently enforce this. First off, this is, again, a property rights issue. Lots of people in Newport Beach make their income off renting their homes. Now, if we have loud people in the homes and they're causing a disturbance, we have a 3-strike rule, essentially. We get the police called for the noise, 3 strikes, they can't rent anymore. So this is a self-solving problem. We just need to enforce the laws that are already on the books.
Jeff.
Okay, earlier this morning we talked about the concept of eliminating a business license fee. We just got through talking about the massive debt that we have with the public employees retirement system. Do I support this? I think the city has come up through Kim Brandt with a really good approach towards studying this. It's a 2-phase plan. The council has approved. I was going to say the council has approved it, but it has been proposed that over the next couple of years, a step-by-step approach towards charging a TOT tax to these organizations like Airbnb be implemented. You know, you have to take into consideration that they're taking away income from the city because they're not staying in a hotel and they're not paying a TOT tax. And when we're faced with the debt that we're faced with, I think we need to be consistent and insistent about looking at any source of revenue that we might generate for the city.
Thanks. District 7, Will.
So I attended the community forum. I might have been the only candidate that did, and I'll tell you that community forum highlights the fissures that we've got inside the community and the concept of having these illegally operating vacation rental homes. One of the things that we know, though, in this city is that we do have a culture of long-standing culture of folks coming in and renting short-term inside our city. And that has developed some phenomenal operators inside our city. In fact, I'm looking back, I'm seeing Craig Batley back here, and Craig has been spearheading this issue on behalf of the folks who are the good operators inside the city when it comes to the short-term rentals. And so what we ought to do is encourage the folks who are good operators inside our city and step up code enforcement. I mean, when we had a summer intern, I believe, come in and actually look on the VRBO websites and just try to find the homes, we more than covered her salary, I think 3 or 4 times by just getting people to pay the TOT. So let's just get an even, fair playing field for the good operators in the city.
Fred?
Well, I'm 100% against having it at single-family residential areas. I use myself as an example. The neighbor that I've lived next door to for 35 years, suddenly somebody rents that place. I don't know who they are. Where did they come from? They come here 90% of the time for vacation, so they don't have a timetable. They can get up at 10 o'clock in the morning and party till 3 o'clock in the morning. So for single-family homes, I think most of us wouldn't feel comfortable, especially if we have lived in a neighborhood for a long time. But there are certain condominium developments that are something like in between apartments and condos. Those, as you said, with good operators and really having all the regulations enforced, I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Thanks, Fred. Phil?
Well, excuse me. I think the first and foremost obligation we as a city council have is to protect the quality of our residential neighborhoods and the quality of life of our residents. And that comes from strong enforcement. That comes from working with good operators to make sure that they control the situation. That comes from making sure that anybody using a short-term rental pays the TOT so that the services that are being called upon again to facilitate that, police, fire, whatever else we have, are being paid. So I think we first have to look at what is happening to the quality of life in these neighborhoods, and then how do we fix that? And I think we fix it with enforcement.
Terrific, thank you. Next question. There are currently 2 residential developments proposed for Newport Center. the 100-unit, 25-story tall museum house project, and the 45-unit, 5-story tall, 150 Newport Center Drive project where Beacon Bay Car Wash is located. Both projects will need a general plan amendment to change their zoning to allow residential development. Under the city's green light ordinance, only a total of 100 additional units can be built without triggering a citywide green light vote of the residents. Are you in favor of additional residential construction in Newport Center? And if so, what are your thoughts, if any, on these two projects? Do you prefer one over the other? Got it? Let's start with District 5 and Glenn.
Yes, green light allows 100 units per measured area per 10 years of new construction for residential units. Just a few years back, we converted 79 hotel units in this area to become condos. Now, 100 minus 79 is 21 units. Neither of these projects are beneath 21 units. So both of these projects should, for everybody that can do math, they should both go to green light votes. Neither one should be able to be approved because we simply don't have the allocation to approve those from the city council level.
Great. And Jeff?
My response to this question goes back to the general plan. I am in favor of implementing and supporting the general plan in this city. Neither of these projects is defined within the general plan. Now, if you want to know my specific opinion about the Museum House project, I am simply not in favor of it. I do not feel that it fits into our city. It does not fit into the complexion or the culture of our city, although it's a beautiful project. I call it the car wash project, where Beacon Bay Car Wash is now. I know that proposed project has been modified considerably from 9 stories, which I'm down to 7 stories. And I believe it's at 4 stories now. I don't have a huge objection to this project. The only thing I'm worried about is I don't know where I'm going to get my car washed. You know, community services are important.
Thanks, Jeff. Lee?
I 100% agree with Jeff. That car wash is important. But yeah, you know, there's going to be 100 units built, and where's that going to be? I don't really have a choice between the two. I know the EIR comes out on museum, I think, next week or in a few weeks, and I think when we review that, you know, in terms of reviewing more, it's where there is space. It looks like the Fashion Island area looks like that would be more appropriate than for someone assembling other parcels and then trying to build those 100 units. So, wait and see.
District 7, Fred?
Well, on the museum side, I oppose that 100%. Number one, that whole area is already cluttered with high-rises, you know, semi-high-rises. Secondly, and the most important thing that nobody mentions, we're going to lose that museum to Costa Mesa. They've got millions and millions of dollars that's going to go to Costa Mesa. So we should try as much as possible to keep the museum where it is, and I oppose that project 100%, no matter how much they scale it down. On the other one, Newport Center, this is not a specific issue. This is a citywide issue. We have been changing and changing things to residential, which creates traffic. I mean, by adding units, residential units, I don't care whether it's the Irvine Company or somebody else, I'm not in that business anymore, we gotta watch out for the traffic. That's really the main issue that I have.
Thanks, Fred. Phil?
I want to first thank Mike for doing the math because they promised us no math on this deal. I have from day one been opposed to those two projects. I continue to be opposed to those two projects. They are not compatible with the community. They cause too much trouble. They cause too much traffic. They cause too much water usage. And as constituted, they do not conform to the general plan. I am adamantly opposed to both of them.
Thanks. Will?
So I said earlier about Woody's Wharf, I suppose if you support the projects, you should vote for them. They won't be able to vote on it as council members. You know, one of the one of the problems is I really do believe that if we answer it the way that the two gentlemen in my race have answered it, we will not be able to vote on these very remarkably important issues. And so I'm going to say, generally speaking, I do support additional residential. I'm not going to comment on either of the projects right now because I think Lee's right, the EIR is going to be coming out. But this highlights how important it is that we have phenomenal planning commissioners, because well before this ever gets to the city council, this is going to go through the planning commission. And the planning commissioners that we have are excellent. And we need to continue to recruit, maintain, and educate the people who are on planning commission, because without them, we don't have any of those. The only check will be at city council. We need more checks.
Thanks. Brad?
With Will, if I'm elected, I would really seek the advice and listen to the Planning Commission on something like this. I've always seen Newport Center is sort of a place where there's some growth going on, and certainly there's been a lot of growth going on lately. And obviously the concerns are parking, and I met with some residents and they had some real view concerns that I wasn't particularly aware of. So I don't have an opinion on this project, but I'm certainly concerned with parking, and I'd like to see all that before making any decision. Thank you.
Great. Traffic, next question. Traffic is already mentioned by many of you, one of the top issues cited by Newport Beach residents citywide. Groups such as Line in the Sand and Still Protecting Our Newport cite the number of recent and proposed developments as one of the contributing factors to excessive traffic. What, in your opinion, is the cause of excessive traffic in Newport Beach, and how would you intend to address this? Let's begin with District 7 and Will.
See, this is probably one of those times it'd be great to have Tony up here, given that he's a traffic engineer. There are any number of factors that play into it, but I do look forward to hearing Fred's response on this. Clearly, if Banning Ranch goes through, there's going to be increased traffic, clearly. And what we've got to do is we've got to really scope out these EIRs. Obviously, in the summertime, we also have a massive influx of people coming into the city, which is, sitting on the finance committee, phenomenal for our sales tax, phenomenal for our TOT. It gets a lot of our services paid for. But boy, you want to go to Marina Park from District 7, it's going to take you a half hour in the summer, and you know that. You have to plan for it. So how do we offset it? I know that Mayor Dixon has been trying very hard to work with the peninsula to make sure that we have an increased, it's not trolley system, but it's similar. We've got to get innovative. And look, Fred's right, traffic is one of the biggest issues inside the city. We've got to plan for it.
Thanks, Phil. What is the cause of excessive traffic, and how do you intend to address the problem?
Well, I think first thing we have to acknowledge is traffic has been a problem in Newport Beach for thousands of years. I remember driving down to the Wedge, 30, 35 years ago, and it still took you half an hour to get down the peninsula because traffic's just bad, and the roads were not built for the type of traffic that we have today. I think there are a number of things that we can do. I think first thing you look at is how do you park cars? There's been a couple of great proposals up in Corona del Mar about more efficient use of the parking lots there between the businesses. That's an idea. I think you look at redirecting traffic, maybe having it come down San Joaquin and go to Newport Coast Drive and avoiding Corona del Mar entirely. I think you look at how you synchronize lights, how you deal with this traffic. Traffic has been a problem, and it's going to be a problem as long as we're here because of the nature of this community.
Thanks, Fred.
Oh boy, explaining traffic.
You got a minute, Fred.
1 minute. Okay. Traffic, contrary to general belief that it's local. Yes, it is. Traffic is regional. Most of the traffic we get on the weekends are from Santa Ana and all the other cities upland. So, besides concentrating on our local traffic issues, project by project by project, we should have a better plan of expanding our communication and coordination of our master plans and our traffic flows with other cities that contribute to us. Residential creates traffic. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be an engineer to do that. So we've got to a point where we gotta control our development. We've had enough of it. We gotta control it.
Thanks. District 2, Brad.
It's obviously in many respects a good problem in terms of visitors coming to Newport Beach, restaurants and businesses operating. It's been around. It's not a problem that's going to be really solved. It's something we all live with every day. But we do need to think about our quality of life, and I tell residents all the time, if you really want to do something about growth, you should show up at council meetings. You should get involved. You know, we can't do it without resident input. So I think as a resident, and I deal with traffic all the time, I'm living with it, and I just adjust my expectations. But no question, as we add development, we're not going to stop it, and nor should we. But we have to just decide as a community how much of it we want to have on the front burner at any given time. That's up to the residents.
Great, thank you. And District 5, Lee.
Well, we're a victim of our own success, the beauty of Newport Beach, so we have so many visitors coming here. And as Fred said, it's a regional issue and a local issue. And I wish I could have a magic sword to be able to conquer this problem, but as everyone said here, this is an issue that's going to take macro planning from the city and regionally, and also it's going to be tinkering with different streets, different boulevards to widen parking issues, maybe some type of public transportation, such as a trolley, or I haven't seen it, but those type of issues, it's going to be something that we're going to try to win by inches, not by yards.
Great.
Early on in my campaign, which I started last November, one of the first people I met with was Jim Walker, who's president of the Restaurant Association, and he told me that morning that there are enough restaurants in this city, if they were completely full at one particular time, to seat 500,000 people. I was amazed at that, but the problem that goes along with it is parking. Any proposed development that we would have in this city, I would have to be shown the impact on traffic, water use, and most importantly, a plan for remediation. We can't build subways here. We can't widen streets. We need to come up with alternatives. Even bicycle transportation. I know my wife and I have been in several cities, even in Los Angeles, where bicycle transportation is being used. We need to look at alternatives.
Thanks, Jeff. And Mike.
Yeah, we live in paradise, and people want to come down here and share it with us. This is a beautiful spot, and everybody agrees. We will never solve the traffic problem, so we need to manage what we currently have. Citizens got together a few years back and created Greenlight. We need to honor that for the bigger building projects so that the citizens we can bring that to a public vote and have the citizens decide. The smaller projects need to have the citizen input, and I encourage everybody to go to those building meetings and have that input, have that dialogue. But this is a problem that is not going to be going away because of the beauty of the city that we live in. So it's a small tax, and I'm willing to pay it, but we need to manage with what we've got.
Very good, thank you. We're running close on our time, and I want to give you your 1 minute close, but as a moderator, I'm going to exercise a moderator's prerogative here with Steve's permission. One of the things that city councils not only have to serve their residents, but once you get to sit on a city council, you also have an opportunity to participate in regional boards and commissions. So give me an idea of what regional boards and commissions you might like to represent the city of Newport Beach on. Brad?
Water quality and the airport.
Great, thanks. Mike?
Also water quality in the airport.
Yes.
Same thing. Water quality in the airport.
I'm currently on the Orange County Airport Commission, so I got the airport, and in terms of everything, it's my first year. I just want to concentrate on Newport Beach City Council.
Well, someone who was appointed by 3 governors and went before the state senate to get confirmed to be on the Water Quality Control Board, controlling Orange County, Riverside, and San Bernardino water qualities and protecting
Okay, Fred.
us.
Water quality,
I
yes.
would be water quality.
Anything else?
And I'll have a class for you guys to learn how water quality works.
Great. Thank you.
I've had the honor of serving on PFAC, which is the Public Finance Advisory Committee for the county, dealing with pensions and issues like that. I'd like to return to that. I would like to get on the airport, and I would also like to sit on the Orange County Transportation Authority to deal with the issues of parking and traffic.
Good.
Well, I expect Kevin will be the mayor next year, so I would do whatever Kevin would like me to do. But I think that airport water quality, and I agree, Orange County Transportation Authority would be a fantastic opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so how about time now for our 1-minute concluding remarks from each candidate, and we'll begin with you. Go right down the line.
I'll come back around and say thank you again, Steve. Thank you, Lucy.
My pleasure.
And thank you to all the candidates who have come to discuss these issues. Obviously, they're difficult, they're big, can't be answered in 1 minute. But we're trying. We're trying really hard. And so what I'd like to say is, if you want to ask me any follow-up questions, if you'd like to come talk to me, if you want to have coffee or lunch, just email me. I've had coffee and lunch with so many people. I'm looking out into this audience, and some folks come away supporting me, some don't. But the truth of the matter is, we've got to have a change of tone in this city. We've got to get to the point where you feel comfortable knowing that if you don't agree with me, I at least did everything I could to get to the answer that I believed it warranted. That's my expectation for myself. That's my expectation for my fellow candidates. And I think we've got at least 9 more of these. So please do continue to come out.
That's great. Thanks, Will. Phil.
I'd like to thank everybody also for coming out. I think it shows a serious commitment to the community, and this is why Newport Beach is the unique place that it is. I agree with Will in the sense that we need to have conversation. We need to have civilized conversation. We need to talk about issues. We need to interact with the community. One of the fascinating and amazing things about this entire process has been the ability to talk to people, the ability to meet with different groups, different individuals who have different perspectives on things, and to hone my positions and to find out where I'm right and where I'm wrong, and to work with those groups and to promise to continue to work with those groups to facilitate what needs to be done for our community.
Thanks. Fred.
Okay, my experience, my longevity of the number of years that I've lived here, my involvement for 43 years in urban planning and engineering will really provide me with the tools that I need to make the right decisions. On top of that, which is over all of these things, are my ethics, my integrity, and I promise you, with the time that I have on my hand, using my experience with integrity and based on ethics, I will try to do the best job I can do for you, because I have nothing in it that's going to be for me. This has been my passion that I've done for 35 years, being involved in numerous activities.
Thank you, Fred. Lee.
Again, I want to thank Steve and the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce for hosting us, and I want to thank all the candidates up here. Everyone's background's impressive, and I'm just happy to be able to share the stage with everyone up here. And I want to echo a little bit with what Will said in terms of being able to speak with everyone and have a respectful tone with everyone, even the people that we may disagree with. We can have a respectful conversation, and we can maybe find common ground and we can work on that common ground. And that's one of the things, I think, as you get to know my disposition more, I'm that kind of guy. I may have my views, but I do want to listen to what everyone has to say. And as you consider everyone's backgrounds here, everyone, again, has a very impressive background. I'd like for you to consider my background, which is in the business world, managing $2.5 billion and really working through the private sector, and I think we do a lot of good things here in Newport.
And Jeff?
You know, cities are the place that people most identify with. My wife and I have been so fortunate to be able to do a lot of traveling since we retired. And, you know, when you run into a fellow tourist, the first question is, well, where are you from? And we're so proud, always so proud to say that we're from Newport Beach. I want to continue to be able to do that. If I get elected, I just want to focus on our city, nothing else, just our city. You know, mayors and city councils, as opposed to the state and federal level, mayors and city councils get things done. We need to be out there. We need to be in front of people. And I just want you to know, you know, we've all been stating our opinions about things this morning, but I want to assure you, if elected, any opinion that I state is going to be the opinion of the majority and the people that I represent, not my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, I also wanted to start out by thanking Steve and the Chamber and everybody here in attendance. It's a great showing and very much appreciated. I'm glad to see this much enthusiasm about our community. If elected, I would, as I do currently, spend about 40 hours a week being an activist here in Newport Beach, listening to a lot of opinions. So that's something I'm already doing. I've written thousands of pages of my views and opinions on SaveNewport.com, so this is something that anybody can research and pull up. I do listen to everybody, try to come to a fair and honest opinion on everything. My door is always open, easy to contact, but I do ask for your vote in November, and would be happy to stay afterwards and answer any questions anybody has.
And last but not least, Brad.
Thank you. I mentioned earlier my interest in the harbor just by virtue of having a boating background, but I've been a 30-year resident in my house on Little Holly Lane. Got some great neighbors, and I am also, of course, very interested in the city moving forward. And I just sort of see our town as a small town because it's my understanding of it from growing up, but I still see it as a small town in terms of the circles of our friendships, the scale of our individual communities linking together to make a larger town. And I'm just would be concerned with being a responsible council member, not having an agenda, and just solving the basic quality of life issues that we're all trying to solve together. So in that sense, I just see myself as a resident just trying to help out. That's pretty simple. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have some outstanding candidates before you for Newport Beach City Council. I thought that I could be up here with another 15 questions for them to ask, and we'd be here through lunch. But would you join me in an excellent discussion and thanking our candidates before you? Thanks. Steve, all yours.
Each one of these gentlemen, they're all fine men and candidates, and I think any one of them would be an excellent city councilman. I urge you to, will be, as one of them mentioned, other candidate forums. I'm sure we had another half a dozen questions, and any of the forums or representatives out there that would like them, I'm happy to provide them so we can get those questions answered as well. Lots of issues in town. I'm excited that we had a great turnout and that we heard some great answers, I think. I'm actually super surprised at how well-informed you all are at this early stage in the process. It is a process. We've got another 3 months ahead. It's a long grind. I've done it myself a couple of times, but you know, the end result, it's whether you win or lose, it's worth it. And I applaud you all for putting yourselves forward to go through the process and serve our community in this way. I want to thank the audience again as well for participating. You know, it's early, but this is important information. These are important decisions that we have ahead of us. We have, you know, with the pensions and other things, a lot of difficult problems to face in the next few years. And so this is our future here, and so we need to make sure we pick the future that we think is best for Newport Beach. We do another meeting. I'll just mention one of our other meetings that we do. It's called Wake Up Newport, where we invite in community leaders, not only from the city, the county, but also from the state level, talk about a lot of the same issues that we discussed here. It's the first Thursday of every month, right here in this room. So hopefully you'll come back for that. You can go on our website at newportbeach.com and get all the information on all of our meetings. We are a very busy chamber, probably have a dozen major events a year and 50 or 60 what I call monthly type events. So plenty to see and do. And I'll finish with, if you're not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, you should be. Please see me afterwards. And if you would all stay for a picture before the audience attacks you, I'd appreciate it up here with Lucy as well. Thank you.